How will Bazball fare after being decimated by Pakistan in the Test series in October? We are here to discuss England's prospects in the Champions Trophy and being the best side in ODI cricket. Their stakes have really fallen off because they continue to lose their bilateral series. Plus, they were phenomenally bad in the last World Cup. So, not I'm not really confident about them, but Brent McCullum is has taken over as the head coach, and we've seen a lot of innovation from them in the recent T20 series against India. We saw Jofra Archer bowl three on the trot. We've been seeing leg slips, catching mid on, catching mid off. McCullum's gone crazy, of course, but yeah, England. Arham, how do you see them going into this tournament?
Yeah, you quite rightly mentioned. I would say that the team that has a lot of promise but aren't delivering up to the mark. There's always a lot of chatter about anything new that England brings up because of you can't go against the English media. They try to hype up every single thing that there is about this side, and rightly so as well. But I've always felt that there when Bazball we started talking about it, people started talking about, especially in the in the red ball format. We all argued that this is a good innovation into the game, but bringing it into the white ball setup, when Baz comes in, we'll always be seeing innovation. We have always talked about it, but I don't think that right now they have enough stocks available in the ranks to deliver many of those things. We know that they are good in bits and pieces. They can do, when things are going right for them, they'll ride the wave and take it all the way home. But when things are not going in their favor, I feel that they often have their backs against the walls and do not have the ability right now, as if we're speaking. I don't think they are doing that well to bounce back and make things right for themselves, uh, especially after the fact when we saw in the last World Cup, ODI World Cup in 2023 as well, that they weren't that good. Even though we saw, so there were questions after the World Cup whether is this the end of the golden generation of the English white ball setup, and there was a lot of conversation about it back then. And now we're here for another tournament with, I won't say similar squad, but I think most of the faces who are the most experienced players, the captain is the same, and the rest of them. I feel that it's good that they have been given another chance. There's a blend of youth alongside as well. We'll talk about that. Obviously, there's a lot of promise within this English side, but we don't see them doing that well. I particularly don't see them doing that well going forward.
Exactly, and yeah, their batting seems like really shaky. The on the team sheet, it does feel that they're very formidable and everything. The individual batters are really talented, but they've not been able to blend in together in the most perfect fashion. And so, but there's one person who England really trusts, and he never plays any bilateral cricket when it comes to ODI and when it comes to ODIs, and that is Joe Root. But they still have him in the squad, and yeah, the talk around town is that they really trust him and they feel that he will be the guy who will bring back the glory to English cricket. And so, uh, Joe Root's role is something that is we really have to keep an eye on. He disappointed in the ODI World Cup, was a really big surprise for me. But yeah, they still really trust him. So, what do you think?
Yeah, Joe Root. There's a lot of arguments that are being made for him that this should have been his prime format, the ODI cricket. Eventually, it turned out to be better for him that he is in the the top four batters for me right now, currently in the Test cricket format, because he took that time off from ODIs and T20s for a bit. But that also has the effect on the entire team as well, because he is one of the most technically sound batters who knows how to play in that phase that he operates at the number three, number four position. But don't see him because for the part of his career that he is in right now, that phase of his career, you could argue that maybe they needed to look past him, but they're quite adamant on the fact that he'll still come good for them. But don't he players like Joe Root, you can't count them out. Like we talked about earlier about players from different sides. We talked about Glenn Maxwell. He has that X factor. Joe Root does not have that X factor, but he has that stability factor within him that with a volatile batting lineup, a shaky batting lineup such as the current England batting lineup, which will come good for them in one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And now let's just sort of talk in a collective sense about this battle line in the interest of time. And so uh, you talked about the young guns, and so Philip Salt opening the batting, and then Harry Brook at four, Livingston at five, Jamie Smith, Jacob Bethel, all these players. These are the kind of players who England have been carrying, and they're all really talented. But again, they make the lineup shaky. So, do you think any of these players really possess that X factor to change games? I think it's Liam Livingston, I believe. But what do you think?
I've been a great fan of Harry Brooks since
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
some time, but I still feel when we talk about there being that element of surprise within them, or that ability to do well, that we root that term out of Harry Brook, and we say that he has the most potential in the side to do the great things, which he has not been able to do that well in ICC tournaments right now. But I expect him to do well this time round. But Livingston wali baat, I was reading somewhere they are considering giving him more opportunity with the bat, in sense that he gets to play more balls.
Hmm.
The conversation was different. The conversation was get him out there for fewer deliveries in the end, so that he just plays out and he gets most out of them. But abhi jo baat conversation that's going on is that whether he'll get more of a time, maybe he goes up a place in the batting lineup, you never know. वैसे we can't predict an accurate batting lineup when Brendan McCullum is your coach and Josh Butler is your captain, because Baz has his way of doing things, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that idea of a rotational batting lineup, or as we call it, a flexible batting lineup, even in ODI cricket, as far as the English team is concerned. So you could see them changing places according to the situation. But I agree with you that थोड़ी सी shaky batting lineup है, and the senior pros need to step up to provide that stability in within the lineup, and the players who are relatively newer or have not been up to the mark, obviously they'll get into the rhythm and do well for them.
Coming towards bowling, I mean, just look at the ridiculous number of fast bowlers that they have. Saqib Mahmood, Mark Ward, Gus Atkinson, Jofra Archer, Brydon, Carse, Jamie Overton. I mean, six fast. They're carrying six fast bowlers for a Champions Trophy in Pakistan. I mean, that was also one of the most interesting parts. So, what do you think about that? And interestingly, they only have one sole spinner in Adil Rashid. Obviously,
Six,
Livingston and Bethel can rule their arms, but yeah.
six fast bowlers for maximum of 6 games. I feel that they're trying to have a newer face in every game. But I think इसका ज़्यादा factor ये है कि maybe they're concerned about their players getting injured
Yeah.
during mid tournament. Plus इनके fast bowlers वैसे भी a few of them are making had made comebacks previously just a while back from relatively lengthy injuries. तो वही वाली बात है कि I feel they're not that confident in their bowlers surviving this very short tournament, so they have had placed them that cushion for themselves. But I वही वाली बात कि they could have had another spinner in the side. They're uh, they could have potentially had अब क्या options हो सकते थे वैसे? What have
Liam
they
Dawson,
experimented with?
Liam
Liam
Dawson,
Dawson.
yeah, these two.
Yeah, Rehan Ahmed, I feel कि ODI cricket mein not right now. I do not feel that they would trust him a lot to bring him to a Champions Trophy event. But Liam Dawson is also one of the most experienced pros. I remember the video we saw of Jarrett Kimber doing his review. He called him the 12th man of every England lineup. So we wouldn't mind him being there in the 15th. So, but वही वाली बात कि whether they going what conditions are they preempting within Pakistan तो वो वाली
Yeah,
बात भी है plus
exactly.
so what they're going to plus they do not have to go to Dubai so they're primarily thinking they're preparing for the Pakistani pitches unless they have a semi there but that's something for another day but I still feel इनका balance I think एक pacer they're too much there's one too much pacer तो
Yeah.
उसको थोड़ा सा they could have cut down on five pace अभी मेरे ख्याल से I think six हैं तो five would have been enough considering the injuries वाली बात भी है plus they rely heavily on Liam Livingston maybe Joe Root gets to ball more as well alongside their sole
Bethel,
spinner
Bethel as well.
Bethel as well. So I think they might get most out of them. So they are not worrying that much. एक तो ये वाली बात I think most of the teams right now are relying more on all-rounders, spin all-rounders
Yeah.
rather than completely going for spinners that are sole spinners. We have seen this from the Asian sides in Pakistan and India as well, and we're seeing it from teams like Australia and England as well.
Yeah, South Africa as well. When we're going to talk about them as well. Let's just sort of wind up with making a lineup. Duckett and Salt obviously opening the batting. Joe Root at number 3, as we discussed. Harry Brook at 4. 5 and 6 will probably be shared by Butler and Livingston according to the situation, of course. Number 7 is every team has this number 7 wala conundrum. So they can either go with Jamie Smith, but then they will be a bowler short, so it has to be Bethel. McCullum really likes Bethel. We saw that in Test cricket. And then there are 3 fast bowlers, so out of 6, it's difficult to make a combination. But I think Archer has to be there. Wood ko bhi ye log khilayenge. And I would say Brydon Carse because the guy is so underrated. I mean, I really like Brydon Carse. I don't think Gus Atkinson is as good as an ODI cricket as he's in Test cricket. So yeah, these three would be my pick.
But I would argue that Gus Atkinson brings a different angle and different ability to ball. He balls at different lengths. Considering the fact that you already are playing with Jofra Archer and Mark Wood, not exactly the same type of bowler, but similar types of bowlers. Uh, both are bowling in the high 140s and 150 clicks. So वही वाली बात है, you might go for someone who's a bit different to them just to contribute to the entire balance of your bowling lineup. But I don't think Brydon Carse would not be in the contention to be playing. I think इन चारों में से कोई तीन ही खेलेंगे यही वाली सिनेरियो होगा in the end.
Yeah, तुमने ये mention किया कि how Gus Atkinson brings something different. It's so interesting how all of the bowlers are very pacey and the ones who hit the hard lengths. And we talked about this last year when we were talking. We did a very detailed video on England how their new approach is about getting these kind of bowlers because they're focusing on Ashes, and it's interesting how that sort of dynamic is being seen in ODI cricket. It's a natural phenomena that has happened. So it's very interesting. The video is linked in the description. But yeah, that is it with England for this Champions Trophy. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next.